Coming up on the show, we will discuss Southern Miss's first win of the season, what they need to do to beat Appalachian State, and how this first conference game will shape the rest of their season. Then we'll talk about national games. A few teams need to bounce back, and one team is make or break for them and their hopes for the college football playoffs. All of this and more on this episode of Hub City Game Day. Welcome to episode 3 of Hub City Game Day. I'm here with
NDB.
Gabe C, man.
And my laptop or iPad is falling over. But I'm glad to be back with the guys, and I'm glad to have some more Southern Miss football for us today. Now, looking at today's matchup against Appalachian State, they're just like us. New. New teams, new coaches, new players. It's going to be the battle of two teams who want to make their mark in this new landscape of the Sun Belt. Fellas, how are we going to make our mark? But before we get to that, let's talk about Jackson State, Andy. What did you see from the Golden Eagles that made you excited about this game for Appalachian State?
I liked how we attacked the game. We attacked the field. We attacked Jackson State throughout the whole game. Now, you can't say Jackson State is a low-tier team. Even though they are FCS and the division under us, they're still good enough to be on our schedule every year. That could be a Sun Belt team in a few years. I think they could be now. It was a Sun Belt level game. We went out there and took care of business against a really good team, the Celebration Bowl champions from last year. I mean, this is a good team. I loved how Jackson State performed against us, and I think it was a real test. I still say we won't have our own real test until today against App State.
Yeah, of course. And, Gabe, to touch back on that Jackson State game, our defense showed up. They played the way we wanted them to play. And we also seen some things that we didn't see last year, which was good D-line play. So let me know how you feel about the defense going into this Appalachian State game.
They say, well, coming from last game to this game, they say everybody's playing, you get punched in the mouth. We seen it. We had the Marshall guys coming in big and bad. We got absolutely derailed by Mississippi State. So I like the way we responded. Now, something I don't like, even though their quarterback was dynamic, you got to get home a little more. You got to, if you grab him, you got to hold on to him. We did good with 2 sacks, a bunch of pressures, but we should have had maybe 4 or 5. And I'm not saying we didn't do bad, but I'm saying we could do better. But overall, I'll probably give about an A-.
Yeah, of course, and trying to temper those expectations and make sure that we stay level-headed, because we saw what being a little bit too big for our britches got us against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Now, going into this matchup with Appalachian State, Andy, we talked about the newness, the new head coach, the new staff, the new players. How is that going to play a factor in this game for both teams?
I think it's going to play a big factor because if you look at Southern Miss and App State, both of them had down years last year, and they are both rebuilding their rosters and their staffs. I'm going to go through a couple things here. Southern Miss has a new head coach in Charles Huff, as we know, former Marshall head coach. Our new offensive coordinator is Blake Anderson, the former head coach at Utah State, who was also an offensive coordinator for Southern Miss back in the Larry Fedora years. And our defensive coordinator is Jason Samore, also the former Marshall defensive coordinator. You look at App State, they have a new head coach. This is his first head coaching year. He was the offensive coordinator for South Carolina, Dowell Loggins. I'm excited to see how he does because you've seen how South Carolina's offense has been the last couple of years. So that head coaching role they're doing okay with him right now. I want to see how he does as he faces off on equal competition. And their defensive coordinator is DJ Smith, the former co-defensive coordinator out of Missouri. So I'm excited to see there. And as far as rebuilding the teams, I'm going to look at quarterbacks. We got Braylon Braxton, Maxwell Award watch list, Davey O'Brien Award watch list, 2 of the top awards in the country watch lists. 413 yards through 2 games, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Now, interestingly enough, through those same 2 games that App State has played, A.J. Swan, their new quarterback, has 200 more yards than Braxton, but he's also got the same touchdowns and the same interceptions. So this is really going to be a battle of the offensive minds and the quarterbacks. I'm excited for this game today.
Yeah, and I'm glad you kind of touched on Braylon Braxton because a lot of people are a little bit worried about him after that Mississippi State game, but he showed up in the Jackson State game. And Gabe, tell us what Southern Miss needs to do to win this game.
Well, it really comes down to two things. We got to catch the ball. Now, there was a couple passes that Braylon overshot a little bit, but we have taller 6'4", 6'5" receivers. If you put your hands on it in a decent manner, you got to catch the ball, man. It just has to be done. Now, another thing I would like to see from the offense is giving Braylon a little bit more time. I know he's elusive, but like if Jackson State's in a bunch of DB blitzes, I mean, he made that amazing scramble that you shouldn't have to do that play. You should, on your O-line, your running back, you need to identify the front off the rip. And then the last thing is stopping A.J. Flynn, man. I mean, he did play for LSU a little bit because we seen Nuss get a little banged up from their O-line last year, so he has the experience against better competition. Now, not to say that's going to come into play because we seen him against Lindenwood and against Charlotte. He didn't look as polished as what you would think, but, you know, pressure busts a pipe, and it's your first conference game. You got to make a break.
Yeah, this is the first conference game for both teams, and this is a game that will set the foundation for the rest of these seasons and for these rebuilds, but also will shape the conference outlook. So, Andy, what does a win do for Southern Miss here as far as the conference goes?
A win for Southern Miss in this game puts them favorably in the eyes of the committee for a conference championship appearance, but it also depends on what else goes on around the conference itself. But should this game go as I expect and Southern Miss pulls off a win and App State loses, it's still kind of hard to tell. It is early in the season. It's only week 3. You know, Southern Miss, this could be the only game that Southern Miss, Lord forbid, you know, knock on wood. But it could be the only one. If we lose, it could be the only one we lose. Same for App State. You know, these are 2 brand new teams just trying to see where they go, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and I'm going to pose the opposite question to you, Gabe. What could a loss do for Southern Miss here, knowing that the tougher teams are way down the schedule, the South Owls, the Troys, the Texas States, those teams that are coming up soon?
Well, as I said in the preseason when we hired Huff, my ceiling for him is a college football playoff chance. We have one loss. Now, Mississippi State, they are backing their own up by beating a ranked team, but from here on out, we have to be perfect. And I'm not saying we have to beat every team by 40, but we can't have these close games with teams who might not even make a bowl game. I'm not saying App State won't, but it's the first conference game. You know, it's too early to tell, but you have to be completely perfect from here on out.
Yeah.
So no losses, none.
Yeah, of course. And that Mississippi State loss did set us back, but it's understandable that we, you know, dropped that game. SEC opponent coming in here, rebuilding team. This game, like I said, is a huge game for us. It's a huge game for the conference. It's a huge game for Coach Huff to get this team in a mode that can have them go undefeated, that can see them win the rest of their games. But we're finna go to commercial, but when we get back from break, we're going to talk about some national games, Clemson and Georgia Tech. And we're going to talk about Florida versus LSU. 2 teams, 2 games that have major playoff implications and could shape the top 12 for the rest of the season. Don't go anywhere.
To make sure our futures took off, we joined the Mississippi Army National Guard. With part-time service, we were able to get paid training in the aviation field. We learned skills that helped us get started down the path to a great civilian career. And this is just one out of the hundreds of jobs the Mississippi Army National Guard can train you for. You can learn a trade and earn money for school, all while serving close to home and being there for your community. See what your future could look like by going to nationalguard.com/ms.
The Sleep Shop at Furniture Direct offers the largest selection of Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, and Stearns & Foster, which means you can buy it today and sleep on it tonight. Come experience the cooling comfort of Tempur-Pedic, the ultimate support of Stearns & Foster, and of course, the most trusted name in sleep, Sealy Posturepedic. Why settle for less when you can sleep on a Sealy for $4.99, plus get the sheets and pillows for free? The Sleep Shop at Furniture Direct in Hattiesburg, Columbia, and Laurel.
Welcome back, Hub City Game Day fam. Now we're going to get into our national games. Last week, the Gators from Gainesville took a bad loss to the Bulls from Tampa. Now, Florida looks to bounce back against their conference foe LSU in a big-time game in Death Valley. Now, fellas, what does Florida need to do to win this game? I'm going to start with Gabe since we started off with you last time.
Florida, they got to be disciplined on defense. The clutch time of the game, not even saying the last 2 minutes, a minute and 30 seconds. You have a pass interference, then we continue the trend of people spitting on people. You can't do that. That right there by itself costs you what arguably probably want to put them in field goal range. You got to be more disciplined. The moment can't be too big. The lights can't be too bright.
Yeah, and for a Florida team who has a very tough schedule, those type of mistakes cannot happen. You cannot have those penalties late in the game because you're going to play a Georgia. You're going to play a Ole Miss. You're going to play a team who is very tough, and they're not going to give you those freebies like that. They're not going to give you those penalties. They're not going to give you those easy yards. Andy, what does LSU have to do to win this game?
LSU's just got to hold themselves together. You saw what they did against Clemson. Just held themselves together. It was a low-scoring game, but they got in there. They went into the other Death Valley and took care of business. And that's the other thing. This is a 6:30 game in the real Death Valley. This ain't going to be easy for Florida to begin with. So I'm looking for LSU. I want Garrett Nussmeier to go off. He's gone off already. He's only got 2 touchdowns on the season. I think he's going to change that this weekend.
Yeah, and this is a great battle for 2 quarterbacks that are in the Heisman race. And Gabe, I'm going to start with you, and we can start off with Florida. What does DJ Lagway need to do to get this team into a winning position? I know last week he had a couple drops and a couple missteps from everybody else on that offense, but does his leadership kick in and they get their stuff together?
DJ Lagway has to put the team on his back. All the other 10 guys on the offense, got to put him on his back, man. If he needs to run the ball for 100 yards, he has to do that. If he has to throw 400, he has to do that. Because Florida, they're not all the way jailed yet. Now, maybe the USF loss lit a fire up under him that we haven't seen, but it's on him to take it over because, the play calling isn't the best. They do a lot of questionable things, but just for him, you got to play Superman ball. You got to show why you are a Heisman contender.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on that play calling because I remember in that game they ran a trick play to end off the second quarter, I believe, and I was a little puzzled behind that because
they pulled a Will Hogg.
Yeah, it was a winnable game at that point, and that's a bad play call at that time.
You don't make that.
You just don't make a trick play call in that situation in the game. And Andy, I'm gonna give you Mr. Nussmeier. What does he need to do to get this win for the LSU Tigers?
Like I said a few seconds ago, he's just got to keep himself together. He got 469 passing yards on the season, and that's good when you consider who they've played between Clemson and Louisiana Tech. You got to pardon me, the Southern Miss fan, and the rivalry almost come out of me and almost called them loser Tech, but we're impartial in this show.
Yeah, we got to stay unbiased.
So he's just got to hold it together. He's 54 for 79, so you can tell that LSU is using him heavily. Yeah. You don't want to use him too heavily, though. You don't want to wear him out because Florida's defense will get in there and try to wear Nussmeier out. Their running game has not been that much, only 103 yards from Durham on the ground, and he's only got 2 touchdowns. So I'm excited to see. I want Nussmeier to get in there and hold on to it. And if he can hold on to it in this game and throughout the rest of SEC play, he's going to be top 5 for Heisman.
Yeah, and like I said, this is a bounce back game for both teams, in my opinion. LSU really didn't beat Louisiana Tech like they should have, and for them to come in this game and beat Florida very handedly, make a statement, it'll be very good for them, not only in the SEC but in the college football playoff lands. Now, we're going to pass it over to Gavin. Gavin, how do you feel about this game?
Well, Micah, my boy, I feel like this game right here is going to be one really in the trenches and based off of who's going to make the least amount of mistakes. Both teams have Heisman-worthy candidates, DJ Lagway and Garrett Nussmeier. If one of them makes the least amount of mistakes, that team will win the game. But for me, I'm taking my Florida Gators since I'm a Florida Gators fan. Cam, how you feeling, big dog?
I think LSU has a lot to prove out of this game. Florida, they're coming off of a loss due to offensive miscues against USF. LSU, they notoriously drop these games after big wins. But with that being said, I don't think Florida's going to keep up with LSU. Give me LSU.
I feel you on that. Now let's kick it back to the guys at the desk.
All right, Gavin, appreciate it. Now we have another big-time game, in a game that could see one of the favorites to win or to even be in the college football playoffs drop out. But this game could also result in somebody who was on the bubble find their way into the top 12. So, Andy, I'm going to start with you. What are your opinions on this game, and what do you think this outcome will be?
Well, Micah, you know how I am. You know I'm a fool for history. So, the oldest college football stadium in the land is Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, which some of y'all may not know that it's the home to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. If you didn't know that, that's a free one for you. I'll give you that one. They're taking on the Clemson Tigers from Clemson, South Carolina. I bet you didn't know that was the name of the city either. But I'm excited for this game. You know, if Clemson wins this game, it looks like they're coming back. If Georgia Tech wins this game, it looks like they're coming up. This is probably one of the biggest games this week. In my opinion, it's bigger than LSU and Florida because everything is on the line for both of these teams. Georgia Tech could stand a loss. Clemson cannot stand a loss. If Georgia Tech gets a win here and they hang through in Georgia at the end of the year, that's into the college football playoff.
Yeah, it most definitely is. And I like this Georgia Tech team, man. I love the fact that they are hard-nosed, they're smash-mouth, they love to run the ball, they love to dominate physically, and they don't shy away from any kind of fight, they don't shy away from any kind of contact. And we saw that against Georgia last year when they took them down to the wire.
They should have won that game. Should have won it.
Well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But we're going to shoulda, coulda, woulda this game, Gabe. What does Georgia Tech need to do to win this game?
And I want to touch on a point. You're talking about the physicality of that offensive line. They haven't let up a sack all year. Now, granted, they played Colorado and then didn't really have too much of a competition in their second game, but haven't let up a sack and averaged 7.2 yards a carry. If you know in the game of football, you only need 10 yards for a first down. But getting 7.2, you only have to run 2 plays. But, other than that, I would think Georgia Tech, you have to stop Cade Klubnik. He's coming off a vengeance because last game you shouldn't struggle with a Sun Belt school. Now, granted, they are a middle of the pack, could be top, but you just don't do that.
Yeah, and this is a make or break game. As Gabe likes to say, barbecue or mildew or barbecue, however it goes. That's his phrase. And this is a game where if you don't show up, even if you win the game and you only win by 3 or 2 or 1, this is still a win. This is still a game where they're going to look at you and be like, If
Clemson loses this game, they'll be in the Pop-Tart Bowl this year. We can't have that, man. This is a must-win game for Clemson.
Gavin and Cam, what do you think about this game between the Tigers and the Yellow Jackets?
Well, Michael, my boy, I feel like this game is going to be really close. This is going to be a really close game. That's going to be one who can keep the ball in their hands. It's just that also who can make the least amount of mistakes. I just feel like Georgia Tech's run game is a little too much for Clemson, and I feel that even though it's played at Georgia Tech, it's going to be a real good game. But I say Georgia Tech's going to win, but it's going to be very close. How you feeling about it, Cam?
Give me Georgia Tech as well. This is a big game for both teams. If Clemson loses, they're written off, so is Cade Klubnik. If Georgia Tech wins, they're put on a lot of people's radars. So with that being said, give me Georgia Tech outlasting Clemson.
Now let's kick it back over to you fellas at the desk.
All right, thank you, Cam and Gavin. Coming up after commercial break, we're going to do our predictions. But before that, we're going to feature a very special player, Madeline Moody, who was honored for her help in the community of Hattiesburg and the surrounding areas. Don't go anywhere.
To make sure our futures took off, we joined the Mississippi Army National Guard. With part-time service, we were able to get paid training in the aviation field. We learned skills that helped us get started down the path to a great civilian career. And this is just one out of the hundreds of jobs the Mississippi Army National Guard can train you for. You can learn a trade and earn money for school, all while serving close to home and being there for your community. See what your future could look like by going to nationalguard.com/ms.
The Sleep Shop at Furniture Direct offers the largest selection of Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, and Stearns & Foster, which means you can buy it today and sleep on it tonight. Come experience the cooling comfort of Tempur-Pedic, the ultimate support of Stearns & Foster, and of course, the most trusted name in sleep, Sealy Posturepedic. Why settle for less when you can sleep on a Sealy for $4.99, plus get the sheets and pillows for free? The Sleep Shop at Furniture Direct in Hattiesburg, Columbia, and Laurel.
Madeline Moody knew from day one that she wanted to play softball in the collegiate level.
Always in my mind, it was like softball doesn't end after high school, and I was very dead set on that. I'm actually the fourth of my family to go to Southern, so that was always in my mind. It was like I want to play college and I want to play at Southern. That's where it was. So whenever Coach Levan gave me that opportunity, I was a junior. Yeah, I was a junior whenever I committed to play here, and I'll never regret that.
Moody recently had been named to receive the Community Impact Award. Her initial thoughts were,
I didn't even know that was an award, and I saw that this was the first year that they did this award. And so I was just like, wow, this is awesome. Because, we see as athletes so many times, like, people get recognized for sports and people get recognized for their batting averages or their fielding percentages. But to me, it's really about what impact do I leave on people? What can I do to better not just myself and my teammates, but what can I do to help the community that we're here serving, So it was great. Like, I could have cried, honestly. Like, my grandmother was all excited, and then it was just everywhere I walked around, people were like, I saw your face, I saw your picture, it's so great. So just being able to see that I made a difference somewhere was just truly amazing to me.
Moody speaks on the challenges that she faces on and off the field.
You had to do a internship your last semester, and we had to do 210 hours. So I was working at a cardiac and pulmonary rehab facility with Forest General my whole last semester of college, which happens to also be our in-season time. So being able to balance that, and I mean, obviously there's a lot of pressure from media and fans, and you have your at-home family, but that just kind of comes with the territory. But I would say probably balancing the school has been the hardest for me.
Throughout Moody's collegiate experience, her success changed over time.
I didn't have the career that I would have hoped on the field, but I can look back and say I was successful. I got my degree. I impacted little kids' lives. I impacted my teammates' lives. I did so many things that I never would have thought I would have accomplished. So my perspective of success has 100% changed from statistic-wise to there's bigger things in life than sports, It's what you leave on people.
Alvia Walker, SMTV.
Welcome to the prediction segment, and that was a great story. Love Madeline Moody, love all of our USM alum. Now, it's time to get to our national predictions, and we're going to start off with a game down in Death Valley, Florida versus LSU. Cam, start us off. How you feeling?
Well, with UF, they had offensive miscues that, ended in their unfortunate loss to USF. LSU, they're known for dropping these games after big wins. So it's up to LSU to prove themselves in this game. It's also up to UF to prove themselves in this game. So that being said, I'll take LSU in Death Valley.
All right, Gabe.
Man, Death Valley's going to be loud. The one thing I'm looking forward to is when LSU gets down into the red zone. Tre'Davious Green, their 6'7" tight end, is back. They don't have their starting center, but they don't need him when you got a 6'7" guy like that. Give me LSU to win.
All right, Gavin.
I'm going to keep mine short and sweet. For everybody out there that doesn't know, or you do know, I am a Florida Gators fan. So I might be the only one on this show today that might pick my team. But I'm going to go with the Florida Gators. The only reason why that I have to go with them this week, not only because I love them, is that injuries is going to hinder the game. LSU is missing a few key players. We're missing a few key players. I just feel like this game is going to come down to which quarterback makes the least amount of mistakes. This game is played in Death Valley at night at 6:30. That is a very rocking crowd, and it can very well affect the quarterback's play. But I got to go with my Florida Gators, man.
Andy?
Well, I tell you, it is going to be loud down in Death Valley. I'm thinking about riding out to Macomb today and actually seeing, if I can hear the game from Macomb and hear this game from Macomb. So we'll see. It's going to be loud. It's going to be intimidating. I know they're used to it in the swamp. That's also another loud one. So I'm going to tell you what. I really like LSU. I really like Florida for this game. This is a game that neither one of them need to lose. So, go Tigers.
Andy with a little pump fake, with a little hezzy. I'm going to go with LSU. I like Grant. I like Garrett, I like Caden. I think that even though they have a few injuries, that this offense is still built to succeed and built to thrive with Barryon Brown and Aaron Anderson. Even though Tre'Davious Green is questionable, he might play, he might not play. I'm going to go with the LSU Tigers. Now, moving on to our next game, Texas A&M versus Notre Dame. Andy, we're going to start on your end.
a home and home game. We saw this at Kyle Field last year. This one is not at Kyle Field. This one is in South Bend. And the only thing that didn't help Notre Dame against Miami was they didn't have touchdown Jesus rooting for them. They got him in this game. Give me the Fighting Irish.
All right, Gavin.
This game is going to come down to what is going to happen in the trenches. Notre Dame, a very run-heavy team. Jeremiah Love, who is also a Heisman candidate, has been toting that rock for the past 3 years in South Bend. Ladies and gentlemen, I just feel that Notre Dame is going to take the win because it is in South Bend, like you said, Andy. And I just feel like Texas A&M right now, their defense has been very, very skeptical on the run game. So I just feel like if Jeremiah Love can get his touches and he can get his run and his yards, give me Notre Dame.
All right, Gabe.
I want to put what Gavin said into more emphasis. Man, give Foe the ball, man. Give him the ball. He could have won the Heisman last year. He didn't because we had that race. You got to give it to him. But one thing I also want to look at is Marcel Reed for Texas A&M, man. It's your time to shine, man. You're going to get it done. But not this week, so give me Notre Dame.
All right, Cam.
If you guys remember this game from last year, Texas A&M unfortunately fell victim to Notre Dame's amazing championship run. But this time, we're going to be in South Bend, so I'm going to go ahead and take the home team on this one.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and complete the five man on Notre Dame. I think C.J. Carr proved a lot in this game against Miami, and I think that if it wasn't for a pretty freak interception, a pretty crazy interception, if I would say, Notre Dame could have came out on top of that game. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Fighting Irish on this one. Now, moving on to our next game, Georgia versus Tennessee. Or, excuse me, Clemson versus Georgia Tech. Now, we talked about this game a little earlier in the show, and now it's time to pick our people. Cam, how you feeling?
For Clemson and Georgia Tech, both teams have a lot to prove. If Clemson loses, then people are going to write them off. If Georgia Tech wins, they're going to get added onto a lot of people's lists, possibly even for the playoff. So with that being said, I'm going to go with the more complete team. Give me Georgia Tech.
All right, Gabe.
You heard me say it once. You heard me say it 1,000 times. Even you quoted it. It's about if K's going to barbecue or mildew. Shout out my dad for that quote, man. I love you, man. But it's really just going to come down to what he does. We know Bobby died at night. Or Bobby died in the day. Like, it's an 11 o'clock or 6 o'clock game. It's 11 o'clock happens to be. Magic goes down there, man. We've seen it countless times. So I'm rolling with the Magic. And give me the Rambling Wreck.
All right, Gavin.
It's, again, just like I said about the last game with Texas A&M and Notre Dame, this game is going to come down to who wins in the trenches and who can make the least amount of mistakes because Clemson, you've seen how they played against LSU with K. Durham running the football, but the thing is, this is a whole different run offense. Georgia Tech thrives off of the rush. They thrive off of that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're not going to be ready for the run, but I feel like Dabo is going to cook something up to where they're probably going to bring an extra flex down into the box where they have run a 5-man front to try to balance them and force Georgia Tech to try to throw the ball more. But right now, the game is played at Georgia Tech. Give me Georgia Tech for the win, man.
Andy?
I said earlier in the show, Bobby Dodd Stadium is the oldest college football stadium in the country. It holds just between 50 and 60,000 people, and you wouldn't think about it being that small, but that is a very electric atmosphere. And you wouldn't think so for Atlanta, because when you think Atlanta at Georgia, college football isn't the first thing that comes to mind.
Future, man.
But I tell you, I like Georgia Tech. Now, like you said, I got a feeling Dabo's going to be cooking something up. There's going to be a flame in that Clemson, in Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's going to take more than just a flame to put out these Yellow Jackets. Give me the Rambling Wreck.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and roll with Georgia Tech as well. I think that Brent Key is doing an amazing job over there with that team. And we saw it last year with Georgia. They were 1 play, 2 plays away from beating a team that eventually made it to the playoffs and almost made it to the national championship. But that run game, the creativity they display, how they do quarterback runs out of 5 wide, how they manage to pull guards in different types of ways and scheme up gaps and scheme people free, I think Clemson is not prepared for that. I'm going to just go ahead and take Georgia Tech.
Wait a minute. Sorry, but who did you pick?
Pick Georgia Tech.
So that's the second time in a row that we didn't pick 5. Guys, we lose.
Hey,
we're
done. Teamwork, camaraderie, man, we feeling all together right now. Now, going on to our next game, the home team, the hometown team, the Golden Eagles, are facing the Appalachian State Mountaineers. We're going to start down on this end with Gavin.
All right, for me right now, I just feel like this game, I know we all attend school here. We love Southern Miss with our hearts. It's all the way to the top. But right now, My boys here at Southern Miss have not really shown me anything well against the pass game. Appalachian State has thrown the ball tremendous amount of times. Their quarterback right now has a stat line of over already 600 yards, and they only played 2 games. If we can't stop the pass, then it's going to be a long night for us here at The Rock. I got to take Appalachian State on this one.
Andy.
I disagree.
Yeah.
You know, you look, like I said earlier in the show, Jackson State is not a team that you can just down credit. They are a great team. They are an annually great team. That's a team that has not been bad probably since they were created. You know? Well, let's look at Lindenwood, on the other hand, who App State went against last week.
Struggle, win.
Who's Lindenwood? Y'all know who Lindenwood is?
No, I don't even
I've
think
never,
I don't
I've
even think
never
they know
met
who
the
they
guy,
are.
so I'm not 100% sure. I like how Southern looked last week. I don't like how App State has looked. Sure, their quarterback has about 200 more yards. At what cost? At barely beating an FCS school who is not a great team.
Yeah.
Give me the Golden Eagles to the top.
To the top,
Southern Miss
baby.
to the top.
Gabe?
You know, we've coined a phrase here at Hub City Game Day. We call it Braxton time, baby. Number one has to do what he has to do to win the game. Like I said, he doesn't have to put DJ Lagway and try to carry the team. He can do a little bit of this and that. Kind of got to get the run game started. You know, our running backs, they like to bounce outside. Just hit the hole and keep going, man. That is going to be the key for us to win. Nothing in the pass game. Well, excuse me. The pass game, the run game, special teams will have to show up again. If we do that, the Eagles will win it, man. But I see that happening. So give me the Eagles by 20.
Okay. Wow. Oh, by 20.
By
All right,
20.
Cam, how you feeling,
Bold
bro?
one. I don't know how I could follow that one up after such a bold claim by Gabe, but honestly, the most impressive part of our team right now is our defense. I was very impressed. 2 interceptions. The first block punt for a touchdown since 2011. I'm very impressed with our defense. But our offense has got to match our defensive effort. The defense cannot keep coming out here and giving our offense chances, and our offense just, lets them go by. So if our defense comes out here, gives our offense chances, and our offense capitalizes on those chances, give me Southern Miss.
Yeah, and I'm going to roll with the Golden Eagles as well. I think that, to Cam's credit, we've seen a resurgence. That Mississippi State game was a punch in the mouth. That Mississippi State game was a humbling experience. This team came out against Jackson State, rough first half, but when they came out for that second half, they knew they had to handle business. They handled business. I think Braylon Braxton is one of the best quarterbacks in the Sun Belt, top three quarterbacks in the Sun Belt, and now it's his time to prove it. And I think this is the perfect game to prove it.
Most definitely.
Moving on to our next game, our next matchup against 2 heavyweights in the SEC, Georgia versus Tennessee. Cam, we're gonna start with you.
Mm-hmm. The last 8 times that these teams have played, Georgia has won every single time, including a shutout in 2017. Now, this time is the time where I think something changes. I got Tennessee at home beating Georgia.
Okay, Gabe.
Look, first of all, Neyland Stadium's 102. Well, we're just going to say 102. 45, 50 people will make a difference. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a lot of orange and white, that ugly orange at that. Can Gunnar Stockton handle that? He doesn't have to. That defense is going to rise. Once again, we've seen Kirby and his defense rise in these big games. Give me UGA.
All right, Gavin.
This game is in Neyland Stadium. Just like Gabe said, I don't think a lot of folks that really understand how hard it is to play in Neyland Stadium. I just feel to me that I gotta go with Georgia right here. The only reason why I'm going to take Georgia is simply because Georgia has shown year in and year out that they can perform in different environments. They can perform in Bryant-Denny Stadium. They can perform in the Swamp. They can perform in Death Valley. And I just feel like they're going to be able to go in there locked in and try, hopefully, to play lights out with no mistakes. Give me Georgia for the win.
All right, Andy.
We learned for Alabama and Florida State that I can't sing. But this reminds me of a song that I think y'all need to know. And I'm just going to speak it to you.
You want me to sing it with you, Andy? I think I know.
No,
Okay, you got it.
Thank
Okay.
you, Gabe. I'm just going to speak it out. I ain't going to sing, I'm just going to speak it out. I wish that I was on old Rocky Top, down in the Tennessee hills. Ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top, and ain't no telephone bills. I like Tennessee in this game. Neyland is a hard place to play. It's one of the hardest places in the country. Now, you wouldn't think so looking at the stats over the last 8 years. I'm not very convinced on Georgia right now. They had a slow start to Marshall and a very slow start and end to Austin Peay last week. I like how Tennessee's been looking, so I got to go with the orange and white Volunteers. That beautiful orange and white, man, that dreamsicle orange and white.
Absolutely disgusting.
And I'm glad y'all all made some great points because it's going to make my point a little bit easier. I'm going to take the Volunteers, man. Gavin said Georgia can perform against the teams in Bryant-Denny, but last year, if y'all don't remember, in Bryant-Denny, a man by the name of Ryan Williams shocked the world. Now, they don't have a Ryan Williams, but they do have a Josh Heupel. And their head coach is an offensive mastermind. We've seen how he spreads the field. We've seen how he attacks aggressive defenses. And I really think that Tennessee's going to come out with a win. They have a quarterback, a new transfer quarterback, and Mr. Aguilar, who's got that team rolling. The fans are behind them. The team is behind them. I think that quarterback, plus the environment, plus the fact that Georgia did have a slow start against Austin Peay and Marshall, going to give Tennessee the edge.
Okay, I get Gunnar Stockton is gonna. I get it. This is his first time playing in this kind of environment. But guys, I just want to say, I'm in the lead with picks, so this is really gonna be my bye week. So y'all can really.
It's not his bye week, but
this is really gonna be my bye week.
Don't listen.
Speaking of picks, we're gonna move on to the next one because he is talking crazy. Moving on to Troy versus Memphis, our Sun Belt game of the week. We'll start over on this side with Andy. How are we feeling?
I'm nervous about this because before the season started, Memphis was my number one favorite to take the Group of 5 spot in the 12-team playoff. I haven't lost the faith that much. I'm leaning towards another team, but Memphis is still a close possibility. However, we saw how Troy performed against Clemson last week. I don't know if Clemson has fallen off or if Troy's coming up, though. So this will be an interesting test on the same level, the same Group of 5 level. Troy has been where Memphis was last year. Memphis has been where Troy was last year. So I'm interested to see what goes on, but I hate to do it, but I'm not one of them people that believes in total conference solidarity. So give me the, I don't know, because they also a rival. Give me the Trojans, I guess.
All right, Andy rolling with Troy. Gavin?
I'm glad you said that. See, now we can get back on the agreement train. ladies and gentlemen, give me Troy for the win. Simply because, just like Andy said, last week when they went to Clemson, the game was at Clemson. The D-line was very, very disruptive. I could have sworn. I think they had a defensive touchdown. Am I not mistaken? The defensive line showed up that they showed to everybody that they can play any competition, whether you're Power 4, Group 5, it doesn't matter what it is. Give me Troy for the win.
All right, Gabe.
You know, one thing y'all know about them Trojans, man. My mom went there. I went there. Whole family went there. Troy has this thing we like to call just being Troy, being from Pike County. They'll beat a team or hang with a team. They beat LSU a couple years back, lost to Louisiana the week after. Troy had a great game against Clemson until the fourth quarter. They started being Troy again. Memphis is coming off of a decent year. They lost their quarterback in Seth Hennigan and wide receiver Rock Taylor. They don't need him this year. They got a quarterback who can run, who can pass. He's been even at practice catching passes. So, gotta go with the big Memphis, man.
Okay, Cam.
I'm going to go with Memphis just because Memphis is coming off of a 2-game stretch where they beat both of their opponents with a combined 57-point lead. Now, Troy played a very good game against Clemson. It was actually their game to lose, and they just so happened to lose it.
Pike County did away.
With that being said, go ahead and give me Memphis.
Okay, so I see Troy on this side, Memphis on this side. I'm gonna stick with the Troy side. Give me the Trojans. I do believe that going into Death Valley or whatever you want to call it, the fake Death Valley,
The other Death
Valley, Death Valley 2, going in and playing that team down to the fourth quarter, knowing that you probably don't have the depth, you probably don't have the talent that Clemson has, but you took them to the fourth quarter, and then you still had a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. Give me those Trojans, man.
Man, you got to go with Memphis, man. Glorilla, the Grizzlies, and barbecue, man. Rock with the Tigers, man.
Well, I'm gonna stick with Troy. I'm gonna stick with Bama. I'm rolling with the Trojans. That's gonna do it here for us in the studio. Glad to have all my guys with me. And if you want to catch the full episode, make sure you go to Southern Miss Student Media on YouTube. And if you want to catch any content, updates, or funny memes provided by my dog Cam, follow us on Instagram at Hub City Gameday USM. I'm your host, Micah Daniel Gibbs, MDG, and I'm signing off.